Assalamu alaikum. I'm with Brother Anwar, and sorry, I forgot your name.
Syed Ahmed.
Syed Ahmed. Okay, these are our Rohingya brothers, right, as we said. I've been asking them questions and learning about the situation. I had actually started a page in 2012 regarding the situation in Myanmar, and I didn't know much about it. And shortly after, I actually met you at the university. You were speaking about your your situation, your family history, and so on. For me, it's been a really big learning opportunity in terms of understanding other cultures, especially other situations of what's going on in the world. And unfortunately, this is one of those situations where it's not really a positive experience. Like I was you come into it and there's a lot of bad things going on, and so you're kind of forced to learn from that perspective. It would have been much nicer to learn like, yes, there's my brothers and sisters in Islam living in this country and they're happy and right, but unfortunately, this is not the case. Now, for a lot of people, there's been a lot of attention recently about it, but can you tell me a little bit in terms of the history, because obviously this isn't something that just started last week or last year. As I said, I've even gotten involved since 2012 trying to learn, but can you let us know some of that information?
Sure, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to be brief as I can, because if I drag, it's like too long of a story, so it will be very...
just some basic stuff. Right?
Yeah, some basic stuff. Historically, we have been there. We are the aboriginal people of the land. Although the Burmese government is repeatedly saying they're spending a lot of resources to make us look like we came from India, we came from Bangladesh or somewhere else. And originally, aboriginal people were from that land.
Yes.
And our ancestors are all Hindus, not Buddhists.
Okay.
These people converted to Islam. We never came from somewhere else.
Okay.
Initial people, they converted to Islam. Buddhists come to Arakan much later. So historical perspective, I will just keep that short. The conflict-wise, there was no conflicts before between these two major communities, I would say, because there are other clans, but two major ones are Muslims, Rohingya. When you say Rohingya, like 95% or more are Muslims, and there are a few Hindus.
Okay.
The Buddhists are called Rakhine, or in our language we call Mok. They also, their own name was Mok. So this Mok and the Rohingya, two clans, there was no issue. Up until 1942, before that there was, the Burmese king, it was a separate kingdom. We are never part of Burma, by the way. It was a separate kingdom, Arakan kingdom. And Burmese king used to come to Arakan and attack. Those are the problem we had, not among each other at all.
Okay.
And then in 1824 or 1778, something, I forgot the
dates aren't that.
It's just not coming.
Yeah.
Burmese king invaded Arakan.
Okay.
Then at that point they just killed indiscriminately a lot of Buddhists as well as Muslims, and some people ran far away. The current Chittagong district was part of Arakan state.
Yeah.
And then when British came to colonize Arakan, it was 1824. And at that time, the Arakan state was part of Burma.
Okay.
Then British colonized it, and then, when British...
Sorry, just, because I guess want to put in a context too that we forget that we're talking about Burma now or Myanmar, and we forget that these names are constantly fluctuating anyway.
Yes.
Right? So
yes, mostly I am comfortable using Burma. It's not that I don't like the word Myanmar. Whatever they change, I can call it. It just come naturally.
Well, even for me, it was a little confusing, right? Because I'm trying to figure out the names, and with the colonialism and the British coming in, and
yes.
we see it in the Middle East and other parts of the world where things get carved up, and you don't know what's... When I was a kid, there was like certain countries, and then now all of a sudden there's Bosnia and Albania and all this, right? They all break up into their own little things, and so sorry if you can...
Now they're calling us actually foreigners. In fact, that in reality, Burman are the foreigners to Arakan. Yeah. The aboriginal people are Rohingyas, and then some latecomer are the Buddhist Rakhine, and there are also Chakma and some other small clan. But the total foreigners are Burman.
Yeah.
In any case, the major conflict started in 1942 when Japanese were withdrawing and British were reoccupying. At some point, Japanese also came to Arakan and they occupied it.
Yeah, I understand in World War II, the Japanese took over a lot of that region, even parts of China and so on. And then
exactly.
It would switch back to the British again after World War II.
So when they were switching back, when Japanese fled or they committed suicide, there were a lot of guns left. And at that point, something so-called Burmese patriot or nationalist.
Yeah, okay.
They instigated something in secret. They said, kill as many Kala as possible. Kala is the word, by the way, the derogatory word they used to describe the Rohingyas and Muslims. Kala means, if I were to compare a word in North America, it's like nigger. Then in 1942, half of the entire Rohingya population was killed. Half of them. My mother's side, they were deep inside the Arakan state, and nearly all of them were killed. Only a few left. So overall, it was half of the population was killed. The other half survived.
Sorry, do you know, when you say half, do you know approximately how many people? Because I believe that they're estimating about 1 million today, right, and living in, the Arakan state, Rakhine, as they call it. There's about 1 million Rohingya.
At that time, it was actually approximately 400 to 500,000 people.
So half of that, 250,000 approximately?
Yes, killed.
Okay.
Half the population. So that's how people remember it. My father was not that inside, but over here. And my mother had a bullet wound here, big wound on her right hand. My grandpa, my mother's father, and then my mother's mother survived. All of their entire, a couple of villages, like tens of thousands of people were killed, butchered actually. And my mother has a younger sister. She was 2 years old. My mother was 4 years old. They somehow survived. So that memory, that was the conflict started. That's where most of the, like hundreds of villages were completely cleaned out. There was no trace of the Muslims. Only Muslims were mostly concentrated towards the Bangladesh border. At that time, it was East Pakistan. Not East Pakistan yet, but it was, Naf River now divided. So that's where concentrated. All of over here is clean, no Muslims. Then we got independence. There were some issues, discrimination. And there was
Sorry, what do you mean by independent? So
independent we got from British colony.
Oh, okay. After
it was
World
in
War
1948.
II. Yeah, so after actually that seems to be an interesting year.
Yes.
Pakistan, Israel, all around this same 47, 48.
Yes, India got independence. East Pakistan, West Pakistan, and sort of, and we got independence from the British colony. Then there was discrimination against. We became minority because they killed a lot of the people. And we became minority. There was discrimination, and a few years, only 2-3 years later, there was a Mujahideen movement, like a freedom fighters, who say we need our full rights. Okay. And then it was democratic government. So in 1962, actually around 1960, a year or two earlier, government and the Mujahideen has dialogue. And then issue resolve. Okay, yes, you're a full-fledged citizen. Who said there is no discrimination? There was a specific Mayu region district as administered by the central government, and then we were given most of our rights, also, although not fully. And we had quite a lot of freedom. We could move around. We can go anywhere. We could go to college, university, anything that we want to do as a citizen. And it was fully accepted and something like that. And we had a radio broadcasting program in our own language, weekly once. I think it's twice or once. I forgot. And it was from the National Broadcasting Corporation. It lasted until 1965. Although the coup d'etat from the democratic government, the dictator Ne Win took the power. In 1962, it lasted 3 more years, even in his hand. And since then, that is the major marking point where the discriminations, the seed was planted.
Yeah.
It is 1962. And then,
sorry, I want to ask. So, in terms of the military coup, like, so they took the democratic government. What was the government like at that time? Was it kind of a mix, or was it just predominantly Burmese?
It was predominantly Burmese. At that time, the prime minister's name was Unu. He was a core Buddhist. Everything he wanted to do is Buddhist. Everything is Buddhist, like Buddhist national thing. National religion is Buddhism. National this is Buddhist. National that is Buddhist. He was kind of that sort of guy. Not only the Muslims, the Buddhists has problem with that.
But would you describe it the same as what's happening now? Or
No. It's a very different. It was democratic system.
Yeah.
But there had
still that sense of nationalism in terms of their religious beliefs.
Yes, and the pride. They say we are the majority and we are the superior. Some sort of like that. But it is still democracy, and people had the right to express their thing. And debate was going on all the time in the parliament. At that time, there were a lot of Muslim MPs. Not only MPs, there were ministers. Muslim health minister was Muslim from Rohingya actually.
Yes.
But I mean by Muslim is Rohingya. I'm talking about.
Yes.
There were other non-Rohingya Muslims MPs or ministers in the parliament. Then slowly, 1962, everything was done, but gone. So it was dictatorship. Then he started to change. Dictator Nevin. He was the head of the army, military. Mm-hmm. He started to change one by one at a time. And then in 1974, he drafted with a few other, with the help of a few other racist, nationalist Burman and Rakhine, who are in our state, a constitution to exclude all the Muslims from Burmese citizenship.
Yeah.
And then the bigger challenge for them was the Rohingyas, because we are where we are now, concentrated sort of part. We are the majority, like almost 98% are all Muslims everywhere. Yeah. Now, if he can take care of us somehow, the rest, gone, blow.
From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was also some other ethnic groups as well that were in the 50s and 60s that were also kind of targeted. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is.
So it's kind of like they were doing a sweep of all the different ethnic groups that weren't considered Buddhist. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yes, absolutely. I also mentioned a little bit that they had a mentality of Maha or superior Brahmanism sort of thing in the head. They were discriminating against the Christian. We have various different Christian clans. Mm-hmm. And one of the major clans is Buddhist, called Mon. Mm-hmm. Over here, Hmong, you saw, some Hmong come from Laos and Cambodia and, Hmong. Okay. Yep. Yeah, in our country, we call Mon, M-O-N. We read as Mon. These Mon are Buddhists. 99% or 100% they're Buddhists. Okay. Even though they're Buddhists, the Burmese still have grudge against them, because they're not Burman, we're superior, something like that.
Okay, so you're a Buddhist, but not the right Buddhist, right? You're kind of down here.
You're inferior Buddhist.
Yes, yeah.
And again, if you there is another clan called Shan, half or 45 percentage wise Christian and Buddhist. So there are a lot of Buddhists there as well, and some of the Karen, like a woman named here. We have a clan called Karen. Karen has also 20, 30, 35% Buddhists. Mm. Also, there are also prejudice against those people. And there are other minority groups. And they are all took arm against the government. Even before there was coup d'etat. Okay. Because there was injustice. Although the period of governing since 1942 until 1962, 48 until 1962, although it was a democratic governing system, the equality was not there. Yeah. So all those minorities, when they sign some sort of agreement, when they are going to demand the independence from the British colony, everybody was promised the equality, equal rights. Mm. But after independence, it was not implemented. So that was the reason why they took arm.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I mean, we're seeing it. It's a little side here, but we're seeing it kind of now with, especially down in the United States, where there's no matter where you go, there's always this kind of level of, there's white Christians, but the white Christians are, many of them. Not many, but there are enough to say that I'm better because if you happen to be Christian, you're not quite there because you're brown, right? Right? Yeah. So you know what I mean? So
exactly.
And so we always have this, especially being white, Canadian, European heritage, that's the way we see it. There is a tendency to, from our perspective, we're the dominant in this country, but to see it over there, it's interesting to hear that there was that, I never saw it that way.
Yeah,
exactly. You're not the right kind of Buddhist.
Exactly.
It's a little weird.
Oh, you're Burmese. Oh, you're Buddhist, but you're not Burmese. Burman.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Shan. Okay. Yeah, Buddhist, I understand that. You're Karen Buddhist. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
So is there, in terms of, because you're talking like ethnic groups, like you said, my understanding is that the Rohingya yourself, I've even heard labels, I don't know if they're correct, but the Arkanese Indians, for example, I've heard that term, if that's correct. But like you said, you're the Aboriginal people, you've been there for 500-600 years, right? So when they talk about these Burmese, what do they consider like a Burmese? Do you have to be born in that country? Is it a heritage thing, like so many generations of being born? Like, how do they?
They're saying this is the blood related. That's what they're saying now. Current immigration minister, his name is King Yi.
Yeah.
He is saying that every country has a different system.
Yeah.
Our system is based on the blood relation.
Yeah.
Although he is saying that, and there are other factors, there is a lot of contradictory thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be born in Burma to be a Burmese citizen. As long as you are a Buddhist, now they are bringing a lot of, under the government sponsorship, a lot of Bangladeshi Buddhists are migrating to Burma. Burma is much worse off than Bangladesh, really.
Okay.
Economically, living standard, human expectancy, education, healthcare, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Why they are coming? As soon as they come here, they get free land, free everything at the expense of, they are resettled at the expense of the Rohingyas. So they will kick out the Rohingyas and they'll take the land and they get a free house and everything. So they are coming like that. So they're citizen. They are becoming citizen. Now the current, the major party who started problem in 2012, Among, he is the head of the party leader, RNDP. RNDP, RNP, something like that. I forgot somehow when I'm talking, I am forgetting a lot of the abbreviation.
That's okay.
Yeah, his name is Among.
Yeah.
He was born and raised in Bangladesh. He has a blood brother, same father, same mother, still in Bangladesh. He's a singer. I had a song sang by him. It's still there.
Yes.
And now this guy is the head of the Arkan state government. It's crazy. So it's actually, there is no blood. It's like I can do as I wish, sort of thing. And for example, let's say Saeed and I we're blood brothers, like biological brothers.
Okay.
And I converted to Buddhism. There's no problem for me. I become a citizen. I can go in there. I can do anything. Real brother, same parents, same father, same mother. I just converted to Buddhism. I have no problem.
Okay, but if he stayed a Muslim, then there would be an issue.
Everything. He will not go anywhere. He will not be able to go to school, colleges, or do business, or move around from one place to another place. And marriage, everything is blocked. A lot of barriers for him.
Okay.
And
so is it okay? So then I guess what I'm getting out of this is that, is it specifically? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talk about you being targeted because of Islam, being Muslim, or does it go deeper than that? Because what you just described there means that because there's contradictions in the way they're doing it. It's really not about the fact that your ethnic background, for example. Is it just because you're a Muslim? Is that what the real issue is?
I think so. I can challenge anybody on that. I think so. I have proof. Sometimes you don't really need to be a historian to prove these things. It's simple common sense. Yes. I have a brother, he converted to Buddhism, and there is no problem, he can do anything. Just because I'm Muslim, I cannot go to school, I cannot do business, I cannot move, I cannot actually go to another village.
Yeah.
So these prove you really don't need to be a researcher or a professor to testify or to say this what is wrong and what is right.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's presented as an ethnic issue, right, or as a racial issue. So, I mean, I do see, like, in terms of your complexion and your appearance, you can see that you tend to be more from the Bengali Indian side, as opposed to, you see, like, a lot of the monks.
Mongoloid, Chinese type.
Very Chinese, right? You can see that there's a very distinct look and feel.
Actually, the original monk, we call the Rakhine Buddhists in our country, are darker than us.
Oh, yes.
Darker than us.
Yes.
So it's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of jumped into something else when I was coming by the historical point. I just wanted to finish.
Yeah, because you were at the 70s, and then
yes, and then the constitution they drafted carefully on 1974. They tried to implement it. There were some issues they could not implement it. They said, okay, then let's try one push out. Let's see how many we can reduce. Then in 1978, all of a sudden there was something called immigration census. They have to check people. Then in that year, nearly 300,000, either 270 to 380,000 people fled to Bangladesh. Only about half returned. Okay. The rest, we don't want to go, either died there. A lot of people died in the refugee camp. I was in the refugee camp. I fled with my mom, along with all the siblings except one sister. She stayed back with her husband. It was my second sister. Then the other thing is, why we fled was, my mother has this mental thing that, she is a survivor of 1942 massacre. Anything happened, these people are bad, we need to run. So
so she's already got that fear.
Yeah, why this happened? My father was at that time in the capital city of the Arkan state called Akyap. That's the old name. Now they changed to Sitwe. He was there on the street. Police said, "Where's your ID? Show me your ID. I want to check where you're from." And then he gave the ID. They torn it apart and throw it away. And they said, "Show me your ID." My father said, "Are you nuts? What happened? What's wrong with you? I just gave it to you. You torn it apart, throw it away, and they're asking me again." So they arrested him, took him away, and we never saw what happened to him. Whether they burned him, shot him, buried alive, we don't know. And we got the news. My father was arrested, put him in the jail. Then my mother said, "This is the time we need to run. This country is bad," because our young childhood memory is haunting her. And then we left. And we were in Bangladesh for a little over a year. Then there was an agreement of some sort between, at that time, the Bangladeshi president Ziaur Rahman, and in Burma it was dictator Nevin. They made some sort of agreement. I don't know what. Of course, those things are not available to person, you and me. And we went back. So in a sense, it is proof that Burma cannot deny. Right? We are from that country. We need to go back. We actually got back all of our properties. Although we lost, crops and our cows and buffaloes and whatever other things we had, we still got back our, the place that where we had house. So we had to rebuild it.
Yep.
And farmland and everything we got back. So again, only about half of the people went back. The other half either died or they somehow sneak into Bangladeshi community because they had this haunting memory, a lot of them. Yeah. And some of them went to Pakistan. At that time, it was easier to go to Pakistan. Then after about a year or two, my mother died. And then in 1982, there's a law called 1982 Citizenship Act. That act, as it was passed in that year in the parliament, and as soon as that passed, overnight we become stateless. Okay. So we become a people of no identity.
Yes.
And we had all the documents. If you have to do anything at all with the government, they say, okay, bring this. They will collect everything and then they will return. They will not return back. So it's a very systematic. They have a lot of different ways to seize your ID.
Yes.
once you submit, and that's it. It's gone. Never come back. And that's what happened. And then in 1983-84, I was in grade 8, the middle school. And next year, in the 84, I need to go to high school. In order for me to go to high school to apply for the admission, I need the national identity card. And then I'm not qualified.
Yeah.
So that's when I left the country.
Okay.
And yeah, next time around, I went back again. It was in 1989. There was a very brief democratic period after 88 nationwide demonstration. There was a nationwide uprising, whole Burma, in 1988. Then the dictator Nevin lost his job. He was kicked out, and some other army came, and one resigned, another came. They killed a lot of people, Buddhist, non-Buddhist, Christian, army, police. They kill everybody, sort of thing, and then they grab the control of power again. But there was a brief democratic period, and for me it was very difficult, very harsh to survive in Bangladesh as a street kid, and I didn't know what to do, sort of thing. Somehow I managed. Then I sneaked into Burma. I was not able to go to my village, and then I went to Thailand. So until I came to Thailand, I came to Canada. I was in Thailand for about 2 years.
So I just kind of wanted to go back to your father for a second in terms of how you said, was this a common thing? Like, I mean, it sounds like that, they would just kind of randomly kind of pick people. Was there something, maybe a business that your father was in, a high-profile individuals, or was it just occasionally they would just, at that point, would they just kind of grab people? Because I'm guessing this was a few years back that this kind of thing would happen. Because it would have been, I think, if it was happening a lot more often in the sense of, like, we're talking tens of thousands on a regular basis, I think that it would have been more.
In that particular year, it was not a random thing. It was the government order to arrest people, regardless of they have documents, they don't have documents. Everybody had documents, actually.
Yeah.
They would, army and security forces, they were ordered to arrest people.
Okay. Was there a reason
No,
why?
no excuse. They said they're carrying out a immigration census, which means they are just checking who is foreigners, who is Burmese or Burman national. So there were no foreigner at all. There was no business of any sort. Let's say if you go to Toronto or New York, and if you randomly pick 10 people, at least 3 would be from another country, from Europe, from somewhere else, Asia.
Yes, yeah.
But over there, 100% Burmese national. Yeah. And all of a sudden, in the countryside, they said, okay, carry out this check, and then arrest them.
So with the ID card, what would be on the ID card to signify that you...
It's the name, father's name, age, and then religion that you believe.
Okay.
And then your height and some sort of a scar on your face.
Okay. So there's a strong possibility that based on either the name or the fact that you're a Muslim gives the indication of, okay, this is somebody that we want to...
Yes, also the religion is there.
Yeah.
It's automatically, it's very, very visible, obvious,
okay.
that they would know you're Muslim.
Oh,
so it was especially planned to drive out people.
Okay.
And then history-wise, another major push, another major arrest was in 1991 and 92. Okay. And the arrest they did again, hundreds of thousands of people were killed, really, buried alive. And again happened. So these young men, they came to refugee camp in 1991. So they were, before they come to Canada, they were in the refugee camp for 17, 18 years. Some of them have been now 30 years in Bangladesh. Born and raised there, and then they have never known a life or human life or human dignity. They don't know anything, honestly. So that's, and then again in 1994, they carry out killing. Again, 2001, sometime different places. So this major thing started in 2012.
Yeah.
I think I should stop there and then.
No. That's kind of what I was getting at. Is like that's the point in time when I was introduced to this issue, right?
Yes.
I had actually been a Muslim for about 5 years at that time. So as I said, I was expanding, I was learning about things, and because I was in a white Western sheltered kind of life, didn't really think about these things too much. But as I got more involved with the community, I started seeing this kind of this information, and I was kind of like, obviously very naive about many things that were happening because we didn't think about them much.